It really is a matter of taking the time, caring enough to take the time to recognize, do I have some go-to emotions?
You get praised for holding it together. No one throws a parade when you fall apart.
Say, hi, how you doing? And you just keep walking. Oh, I'm so glad you asked. I've done that just a couple times just to see what would happen. It was never pretty.
Welcome back to Unapologetic Rabble-Rousers. I'm Shellie.
And I'm Carla Lewis.
And today we are going to talk about emotional constipation.
I think it's just fun to say.
But let's be real. A lot of us are emotionally constipated.
I
We hold on to feelings like it's an Olympic sport.
Oh, that I love that. That's a great line. Like an Olympic sport.
I had someone say that to me once.
Really?
Yeah. A coach that I was actually working with. And we were talking about buffering, like how people buffer around their feelings.
Mhm.
Like people eat, people drink, people do whatever, a lot of usually unhealthy things. But she was like, some people will hold on to their feelings like it's Olympic sport. I
Wow.
was like, that's good.
You think about how much energy that takes too. What does it rob you of? So let's dig into this
Let's dig in.
to this notion. Ew, this. It, so let's dig into this whole notion of how would we even begin to define what we mean by emotional constipation?
When I think about it, I think, and I don't know, maybe it's my generation, I don't know, but we were taught to just, you don't have big reactions, you don't have emotions. If you were crying, you were told to suck it up. If you were upset about something, you were told to suck it up. If you wanted to celebrate something, you can't do it too loudly. So there was just always this like tempering down of emotions, the good ones, the bad ones, all of them. So if we're constantly pushing them down, they just start to stack up, much like constipation does.
And yes,
It's an awful metaphor.
no,
However,
I happen to think it's an awesome
well,
metaphor.
right, many of us have been taught that feeling is a weakness. It's
Mhm.
messy. It's too much. Don't do it.
And at the same time, not given a whole lot of guidance about, all right, so let's acknowledge that you have the emotions and let's now help with, so what do you do in order to satisfy this, tamp it down, don't let it come out? What are the approaches you can take to process them so they don't end up just becoming a part of that? I'm imagining like when you go to the grocery store and you deposit your pop cans or the
Yeah, don't do
bottles of stuff and it's just
that.
it goes through that crusher and you just got all of this stuff. They're We're told what not to do, but we're not told how to go through the process so that it doesn't turn into a problem.
Yeah. I think before we go there, I think it's important to recognize where this comes from. So yes, it's many times a learned behavior, a
Mm-hmm.
learned pattern, right? But also sometimes people learn to stuff it down in order to survive. It
Right?
can be a survival tactic for people.
Yes.
Certainly social conditioning and certainly a pattern of behavior. Because we're often praised for holding it together. I can remember so many times at work facilitating a class with 50 people and I have no sound coming out of a video that is a key component of the workshop I'm teaching. Inside, I'm that duck that they show that's all smooth on top of the water and its little fins are going like this.
Yeah.
That was me. And so many people came up to me and they're like, you were just calm under pressure. You never had a big reaction to that. You just handled it. And then I made it fun because I turned on the video captions and asked for audience participation to be the actors.
Oh, great.
So I worked it out and then I was like, let's take a break and I called the IT guy and was like, what the hell, man? he came and fixed it. But you get celebrated, you get praised for holding it together. No one
Yeah.
throws a parade when you fall apart.
No,
No one
no.
congratulates you and praises you when you lose it. So there's a lot of conditioning that comes with holding it all together. Don't let those feelings out. Don't talk about those emotions.
It's an
So to,
interesting challenge too, because when you move from being the child to where I guess it probably starts more in school than it does at home. If you have a boo-boo at home and you cry, then and everything's going to be okay. Thank you for letting us know that you don't feel well or whatever. But you get to school and it's not, no,
that was
okay,
not my reaction. That was not my family. Slap a little Ben Gay on that. Get right back out there. You're fine.
okay, okay. But
There was no acknowledgement of the emotion
okay,
except
okay.
for don't cry.
All right.
Don't let the neighbors hear you. Don't
Okay,
be
that was
loud.
when you and your brother were out making just too
Oh,
much
that
noise
was
fighting in the
all the
yard.
time. That was a theme.
We've there have been so many things that we've been able to pin on those early years
Oh yeah.
when the what's right and what's wrong, what is appropriate behavior and what is inappropriate behavior were stamped. And it affects us for the rest of our lives. And it's not even stuff we think about because
No.
it's all that
It's the
that's
way it
just
is. It's a neural pathway. It's the way it is. It's
yes.
a habit.
Yes.
So if you think about how many times have you said, I'm fine when someone asks you how you're doing? You don't even think about it. I'm fine. You're not fine. Your world's blowing up. You're not, world's not blowing up right now, but it's just,
Yeah.
it's a habit to say, I'm fine. Even when you know the person who's asking you actually wants to know how you're doing. And
Oh, and
then,
you want to mess somebody up? Give them the answer. Give
yeah,
them the real answer when you know all they're doing is themselves
passing
saying
by. Yeah.
something out of rote. Just this is what you do. You're
Yeah.
close to a person, you say, "Hi, how you doing?" And you just keep walking. You don't really give a shit. And oh, I'm so glad you asked. I've done that just a couple times just to see what would happen. It was never pretty.
It was never pretty. But if we think about being emotionally constipated, so the answer of I'm fine is just a habit. It's we're not even thinking and we're not even acknowledging our own emotions, let alone going, does this person really care? Do they really want to know?
Hmm.
And when I think about extreme emotions, I'll say maybe like anger and what's the opposite? Joy. Like if you see somebody who's really joyful, people are like, hmm, what's wrong with that person? It's almost suspicious, right? And when you see someone who's really angry, it can feel dangerous.
It can,
I don't want to be on the wrong end of that guy. So it's just fascinating to me when you really think about how much emotion people tend to keep here, narrow. And when we do see people at the extremes, it's not welcomed. It's suspicious. It feels wrong. It's not normal. So what do? We distract ourselves. We numb ourselves. We overwork ourselves. It's time for cocktails somewhere. So I think it just perpetuates a lot of other bad habits.
back
Like
to
I always joke, I eat my feelings, all of them. The happy ones, the mad ones, the glad ones, the sad ones, the joyous ones, the angry ones, the frustrated ones, all of them. I grew up with a chef. Food is love. Food is self-care. I never bought into the notion that food is fuel. Food is everything else. Every day I have to remind myself food solves hunger. That's it. It doesn't help me to eat when I'm frustrated. It doesn't help me to eat when I'm annoyed. It doesn't help me when I want to celebrate. Food does not solve the problems. You can say that about any other type of addiction someone might have.
Hmm.
I went on a little rant there. Sorry.
No, rants are really welcome on unapologetic rabble rousers. So the strong equals silent challenge. That's a bit of what you were talking about
Yeah.
earlier, that being strong means it's just you keep it inside.
You're stoic.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Stoic. And there's probably a good
The
time and a
word
place.
stoic even sounds sexy. He's so stoic.
So stoic. I actually got that feedback recently from a presentation I made. Oh, she was so stoic in how she delivered her message. And I thought, is that good? Is that good? I don't know if that's good.
Yes, I would say yes.
Okay. Well,
Um,
thank you. I appreciate that because I'm really, yeah, please.
or you could have responded, "Thank you. I am a sexy beast."
Fortunately, it was written. And so I didn't even have to confront or respond. It was just, but I think that notion that tamping it down, the training we get early, 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 there is no, there isn't anything more than don't do that. It isn't about how to process what's really gone. Don't do that.
Mhm.
So how, as we become adults and now we're trying to make our own decisions and we are out engaging with the world in a totally new way than we were when we were under the protective custody. Ooh, no, protective care of our parents and teachers, etc. There's where does one turn besides perhaps therapy to be able to first acknowledge any kind of emotional constipation and then consider ways to be able to be much more healthy about processing those things so that they don't end up creating the blockages
Mhm.
to a life well lived.
Obviously, I think therapy and coaching are great options, but not everyone wants to do that or feels like that's their jam. That's cool. When I was, this sounds so dumb, but when I was learning how to feel my feelings instead of eat my feelings, we did this with my coach. I did this activity where I was riled up about something. I don't even remember what it was now, but she said, let's just take a pause for a moment. She's, are you comfortable closing your eyes? I said, yes. So she said, what is that? What is the feeling that you're feeling? And I said, it's frustration, but that's my go-to feeling is frustration. She didn't let me get away with that. She was like, go deeper. What is it really at the heart of the frustration? I don't remember what it was now, but, and then she said, where do you feel that in your body? And I was like, oh, that's interesting. It feels heavy right here, like right below my throat. It feels heavy. And then she just was like, imagine that floating out through your fingertips or coming up
Mhm.
through your nose and your mouth, like getting it out of your body and really feeling where it moves to. And through that, what I've learned is sometimes I can move that feeling out. Sometimes I just have to visualize myself putting that feeling in a little backpack and carrying it with me because my body is like, we're not ready to let that go yet. But it really helps to know where you feel certain feelings because then you know what it's when it's coming. You can manage it a little bit differently than you have, and you can sit with it. And it might take 3 seconds, it might take 5 minutes. In that short of time, you can process through what that feeling is, what it's doing to your body, what's at the root cause of it, and then you can figure out how to move through it, whether it's letting it go, it's carrying it with you, it's lightening it up a little bit. So you can, that's a practice you can do every day with any feeling you have. It could be a great feeling, a joyous feeling, it could be a shitty feeling, anything. But your body feels that. There's a great book called Your Body Keeps Score.
Mm, yes.
And it it's all the science behind how when you can't regulate your feelings, your body reacts to that. So you could do a body scan and every day do a body scan and name one or two emotions and see how it processes through. There's a lot of techniques that you can use to really start to understand the feelings, the good ones, the bad ones, all of them.
There's so much to be said and learned about the notion of that energy. Where does it settle in your body?
Mm-hmm.
And not just being able to become aware of. And for me, this is a fairly recent, I don't know, awareness, I guess, learning, getting coached about recognizing the patterns of the energy and where stuff lands. Where not, it's not that it lands there, but where does it deliver its message?
Mm-hmm.
And so you had that heaviness. First off, even becoming aware and taking the moment, this back to so how do I deal with these emotions that what I know to do is supposed to be just tamp them down, but instead I'd really like to work through a healthy way of acknowledging them, letting them do what they got to do, see where it's happening inside my body, and then be able to work with that. There's another part of that, which is when you start feeling that heaviness, say what you were feeling, frustration, and it was that heaviness there. When you start feeling that heaviness and you're not actually aware yet of the emotion and saying, I wonder what might be going on here, because we're really good at masking
Mm-hmm.
what's actually happening in that part of our brain that delivers this, hey, here's some frustration.
Yeah. It's like we have to go through, this is so dumb, emotional digestion versus the constipation. Like our bodies digest food. We have to learn how to emotionally digest life's stuff that it hands us, the good,
It's
the bad, the ugly.
the processing.
Yeah.
It's understanding what it is, and that it keeps coming back to that. Understanding what are the processes, because this isn't it's physical in the sense that it's energy, but it's not, I can't chew on it, I can't no, I can't swallow it, I can't chase it with water or wine.
Right.
It's so being able to find those tools or those mindsets that help us say, oh, look at that. Look what's going on. I have a choice to make. I can either deal with it or I can smish it down with the rest of
Mhm.
the crap that I've smished down for 70 plus years. No, I want to be able to manage with this.
Yeah. And I think it's important to recognize that it doesn't necessarily, I think sometimes we stuff it down too because it's the wrong place, it's the wrong time,
It's inconvenient.
it's inconvenient, it's gonna take too long. It just recognize that it really, once you figure out a handful of your core go-to emotions, it really doesn't take that long to just sit for a moment and feel it and work it out or understand what was causing it, what you can do about it, what do you have control over, what don't you have control over, and all of that. But being able to just let yourself feel that without numbing it, without apologizing for it, sometimes without even fixing it, is like that's an okay thing to do. It's a great practice to have. And I think, like, for me, in my executive coaching, I've probably shared this before. When tears show up, I used to get so uncomfortable. Like, why are you crying? Why are you crying? It was super awkward. And I have since come to learn that tears show up when shit matters, or I should say, when stuff matters,
Well,
because
when you,
we are not an explicitly rated
no,
podcast.
okay. I
uh,
think we're still in PG territory.
I don't know. Anyway, tears show up when things are important. And so now I have a completely different reaction to it. And it's not at all in judgment. It is sometimes it's curiosity, and sometimes I just sit in a coaching relationship. Sometimes I just sit and wait. And then I might ask a question. What was behind the tears?
Hmm.
And then that person can talk about it or not. But it's interesting how the more I've done this work for myself, how it's impacted more of a tolerance for other people when they're showing emotions.
It's interesting you choose tolerance. And I think that the notion of being able to recognize the filters that are in place and be able to ignore them, the ones that are coming from that place of disquiet in the face of others' disquiet, that
Yeah.
it really is a matter of taking the time, caring enough to take the time to recognize, do I have some go to emotions? I love that frustration was one you brought out. But for people to be able to sit and think, okay, when I start feeling anxious about something, how am I thinking about what it is I'm feeling?
Right.
Is it frustration? Is it that I've been cheated or whatever it might be? But to become aware of that, and then that first step in the 12-step program is awareness, and then
Mm-hmm.
being able to explore further. So frustration, that's a good kind of umbrella term. Let's dig to the next level. Where is that frustration coming from? Let's dig into that. And people just
Yeah.
taking that time, and you said it can take a second, it could take an hour, it could take a lifetime, but
Yeah, it can
it's
take more than
taking
one
the step.
session for sure. Yeah,
Hmm.
but to your point, yeah, taking that first
And
step to realize, and like feelings are not flaws. It's data. Like we're human beings, we all have feelings whether we like it or not.
hmm.
Feelings don't make us weak.
Mm-mm.
For some people it might be a reminder that you're alive because you actually do feel stuff. But I think it's really important to recognize that when we see people displaying feelings, it's okay. And when we ourselves display feelings, it's okay. It is not a flaw. I can't tell you how many times throughout my life I've been told, and I'm not a big crier, but how many times I've been told, don't cry when I tell you this. Okay. I remember one time one of my dogs had passed away, and I was having dinner with a friend and her daughter, and she was like, she hands me an envelope and she goes, don't cry. I'm thinking, like, literally just lost my dog who was like, I don't know, 10 years old, died very suddenly, unexpectedly. I was sad about it. You're going to bring up my dog and tell me not to cry? It was like, I will have whatever kind of reaction I have. So I didn't open the envelope and I put it in my bag. And then she got mad at me because I didn't open the envelope. And I said, when you hand me something and it comes with an instruction of don't cry, and I don't know what it is, I can't promise you that I can fulfill that request. So I'm going to put it in my bag and I will open it when I'm in the privacy of my own home. And if I cry, you'll never know about it. Does that make you feel better? Is the I don't want you to cry thing was for her, not for me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
So how
Please
many
don't get
times,
mad when I say this. Yeah.
right? Don't get upset. Okay. Like I don't tend to have big reactions when people tell me things because it's not my stuff. While I have empathy, I'm not an empath. I don't take other people's emotions on. So it always cracks me up when someone's like, well, don't get mad when I tell you what happened. Okay, I'm cool. But who are you to tell someone else what kind of reaction to have?
It's
Nothing like
fascinating.
taking away somebody's authenticity.
Please perform in this way for me as I deliver this message for you that you didn't ask for, but I have brought with me.
What I
Yeah.
feel like I should tell you. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's all very fascinating to me. But back to the point of emotional constipation. There are ways to work through it. I like that emotionally digest.
Emotional digestion.
That's what I said. I was like, that does not feel right coming out of my mouth. Emotional digestion is a really healthy practice to start having. And it doesn't matter how old you are.
Mm,
I was in my 50s when I was finally figuring out how to process my emotions. So age is no limit here. But
good.
just
That's good.
remember that feelings are not flaws, they are data, and it can help us not only for ourselves, but it can also help in our relationships with other people.
Wow. Well, with that, I'm Carla Lewis.
I'm Doc Shelley. We'll see you next time. Feelings are not flaws, they are data, and it can help us not only for ourselves, but it can also help in our relationships with other people.